Long ago, in a quiet African village surrounded by endless grasslands and tall palm trees, there was a river that no one dared to go near. The river was wide, with water so dark that even the sun seemed afraid to shine upon it. It was called the Forbidden River, and for generations, the elders had warned the people never to step into its waters, never to fish in it, and never to drink from it. Children grew up hearing frightening stories about the river. Some said it swallowed men whole. Others said strange spirits danced on its surface at night, calling out names in whispers. There were tales of travelers who tried to cross it but never returned. The villagers had learned to live in fear and respect of the river's silence. They fetched their water from smaller streams and fished in distant ponds, leaving the great dark water untouched. But not everyone believed in the stories. Some thought the river was just another body of water, like any other. Among them was a boy named Oba, curious and restless. Oba was 17 years old, strong for his age, with skin as dark as polished ebony and eyes that sparkled with questions. Unlike the others in his village, he did not tremble when the elders spoke of the river. Instead, he listened carefully, and a fire of curiosity burned within him. Oba often sat at the edge of the grassland where the trees opened toward the river. From there, he could see the water glistening faintly in the distance. He wondered why it was forbidden. He wondered what secrets lay hidden beneath its surface. He felt the pull of the river, like it was calling to him alone. One evening, as the sun painted the sky orange and gold, Oba sat with his grandmother, Mama F, the oldest woman in the village. Her wrinkled face was like a map of many years, and her voice carried the weight of countless stories. "Grandmother," Oba asked, "why is the river forbidden? What lies in its waters that makes everyone afraid?" Mama F closed her eyes, her voice low as if the air itself might carry her words to the river. "Child, that river is not like other rivers. It is alive. Long ago, our people lived beside it, fishing, washing, drinking. But then, strange things began to happen. The water grew dark, and those who entered never returned. The spirits of the river grew angry, and they demanded sacrifice. Blood was spilled into the water to keep the peace. From that day, we turned our backs to it." Oba leaned closer. "But what if the stories are just fear? What if the river is only water, nothing more?" Mama F's eyes flashed open, sharp and full of warning. "Do not play with things you do not understand, boy. Curiosity is what feeds the spirits. The river listens. It watches. And if you do not respect it, it will take you too." But Oba's heart was restless. That night, as the moon rose full and bright, he could not sleep. He lay awake listening to the sound of the crickets and the wind whispering through the trees. Then he thought he heard something else, a faint voice calling his name. "Oba." He sat up quickly, his heart pounding. He looked around the hut where his family slept peacefully, but no one had spoken. Again, the whisper floated to him, soft and haunting. "Oba, come." He shivered but also felt drawn, as though invisible hands were pulling him toward the river. Without thinking, he rose quietly, slipping outside into the cool night air. The moonlight lit the path, guiding him across the fields, past the tall grasses that brushed against his legs. The voice grew clearer, and the sound of rushing water filled his ears. When he reached the edge of the trees, he stopped. There it was, the forbidden river. Its waters shimmered like liquid silver under the moonlight, but it seemed endless and deep, like a great black mouth waiting to swallow the world. The air was thick with mystery, heavy and cold. Oba felt fear creep into his bones, but the voice called again, stronger now. "Oba, you are chosen." His breath caught in his throat. Who was speaking to him? He looked around, but no one was there. Only the river, endless and silent, as if it were alive and watching. Suddenly, the water rippled though there was no wind. Oba's eyes widened as he saw a figure rise slowly from the middle of the river. It was a woman, Tall and glowing, her hair flowing like water, her eyes shining brighter than stars. She was beautiful yet terrifying, her presence filling the night with a power that made Oba's knees tremble. "Oba," she said in a voice like music and thunder, "you are not afraid of me." Oba tried to speak, but his tongue felt heavy. He finally managed to whisper, "Who are you?" "I am the spirit of the river," she said. "For centuries, your people have feared me. They left me in silence, but you hear me. You are brave. You are curious. That is why I have chosen you." Oba shook his head. "Chosen me for what?" The spirit's eyes glowed brighter, and the water around her shimmered like fire. "To discover the truth. To uncover what lies beneath the surface of this river. But be warned, young one, truth is not without price. If you enter my waters, you will never be the same again." Oba's heart pounded. Every story, every warning, every fearful whisper from his grandmother's lips returned to him. Yet, something inside him stirred. A hunger for knowledge. A desire to see what no one else had seen. "Will I die?" he asked quietly. The spirit tilted her head, a mysterious smile on her lips. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you will live in ways you cannot yet imagine. But if you walk away now, you will never know. And the river will never stop calling your name." Oba stood frozen, the sound of rushing water roaring in his ears. The night was thick with silence except for the beating of his heart. He knew he should turn back. He knew he should run. But instead, he stepped closer to the edge of the river, his bare feet brushing the wet sand. The spirit reached out her hand, shimmering with droplets of light. "Take my hand, Oba. Step into the river, and begin the journey." Oba stretched out his hand, trembling, unsure if he was stepping into a dream or a nightmare. As his fingers touched hers, a cold fire shot through his veins, and the world around him seemed to dissolve into water and darkness. And then, everything went silent. The forbidden river had taken him. When Oba opened his eyes, he was no longer standing by the riverbank. He was floating in a strange world, suspended in water that felt neither heavy nor suffocating. He could breathe as though he were on land, and yet his body drifted as if carried by unseen currents. The river was alive. Its waters glowed faintly with shifting colors: blue, green, and silver, like the skin of a giant snake. Strange plants with long, waving leaves grew from the riverbed below, their tips glowing like fireflies. Small fish darted past, their scales glittering like tiny jewels. Oba felt wonder fill his chest, but at the same time, fear tightened his stomach. Before him floated the river spirit, her eyes glowing brighter than before. Her hair streamed behind her like a cloud of black silk, and her skin shimmered like polished stone. She watched him with a gaze that pierced straight into his soul. "Welcome, Oba," she said softly, her voice echoing like a song through the waters. "You are now within me. The river and I are one. Do not be afraid." Oba swallowed hard. "Am I dead?" The spirit smiled faintly. "Not yet. You are between two worlds, the world of the living and the world of the hidden. Few ever enter this place, and fewer still return." Her words made Oba's heart race. He thought of his grandmother, of his family sleeping in their huts, unaware that he had stepped into the forbidden waters. He wondered if he would ever see them again. "Why did you bring me here?" he asked. The spirit's expression grew serious. "Because time has come for the truth to be revealed. For too long, your people have feared the river without understanding it. They tell stories of curses and death, but they do not know the whole story. I have waited for someone like you, someone who listens, someone who dares." Oba frowned. "What truth? What lies beneath the river?" The spirit raised her hand, and the waters around them stirred. Suddenly, Oba saw images swirling in the currents. He saw ancient men and women fishing happily in the river, their baskets full, their faces bright with laughter. He saw children splashing and playing, the river once clear and full of life. Then, the water grew dark in the vision. Strange shadows appeared in the depths, twisting and writhing. People vanished into the water, their cries muffled as the river swallowed them whole. Blood spread through the currents, and the villagers fled in terror. The river was once a blessing, the spirit said, her voice deep with sorrow. But long ago, greed poisoned its waters. Strangers came to these lands, men with skin pale as bone and hearts full of hunger. They sought riches from the land, tearing the earth, cutting the trees, taking what was not theirs. They were killed without mercy and enslaved without pity. And when they saw the river, they sought to control it too. Oba's eyes widened. White men. The spirit nodded slowly. Yes. They forced your ancestors to dig and build, to break the stones that lay beneath the riverbed. But those stones carried power, the heart of the river itself. When they were broken, the river bled. It became cursed, not because it was evil, but because it was wounded. Since then, my waters have been restless, my spirit unable to heal. I have become what you see now, both life and death, both beauty and terror. Oba's chest tightened. He had always thought the stories were just tales to scare children. But now he understood something far greater had happened. His people had been living in fear of a wound that was never healed. Can it be healed? He asked quietly. The spirit's gaze burned into him. Perhaps. But it is not easy. The wound of the river is tied to the wound of your people. Fear has chained them, silence has blinded them. Only one who is brave, one who will face both the past and the darkness within, can begin to mend what was broken. Oba felt a shiver run through him. And that person is me. The spirit nodded. Yes. That is why I called you. But know this: healing the river comes at a great cost. You must give something in return. You must face trials that will test your courage, your heart, and your soul. If you fail, you will remain here forever, a spirit among spirits. If you succeed, the river will live again, and your people will be free from fear. Oba's mind spun. He was only 17. He was just a boy from a small village. How could he carry such a burden? And yet, something inside him stirred again, the same fire of curiosity, the same restless spirit that had drawn him to the river in the first place. I will do it, he said firmly, though his voice trembled. Show me what I must face. The spirit's eyes glowed brighter, and the waters around them trembled. So be it. Suddenly, the river began to shift. The glowing plants bent away, and the water darkened, turning into a swirling tunnel. A loud rumble filled the depths, and Oba felt himself pulled forward by a powerful current. He struggled, but the river dragged him deeper and deeper into the darkness. Your first trial awaits, the spirit's voice echoed, fading as he was swept away. Face the shadows of fear. Oba tumbled through the rushing waters until he landed on a flat, rocky ground. He staggered to his feet, gasping for breath. Though he was still under the river, it now felt like he stood in a cavern lit by a faint blue fire. Shadows clung to the walls, twisting and moving as though alive. From the darkness, whispers rose. Oba, you should not be here. Turn back, you are too weak. You will die like the others. The voices clawed at his mind, filling him with dread. The shadows stretched into shapes, figures with hollow eyes, faces of men and women twisted in pain. Oba's chest tightened with fear, his legs trembling. He wanted to run. He wanted to close his eyes and vanish. But then he remembered his grandmother's words, curiosity is what feeds the spirits. The river listens. It watches. If the river was watching him now, then he would not let it see him fall. Drawing a deep breath, Oba straightened his back. I am not afraid, he shouted, his voice echoing through the cavern. I am Oba, the son of my people, and I will not run from you. The shadows hissed and lunged at him, their dark arms stretching like claws. But as they touched him, they dissolved into mist, fading into the air. The whispers grew fainter until only silence remained. Oba stood alone in the cavern, his chest heaving. The fear was gone, replaced by a fierce determination. Then the spirit's voice returned, soft but strong. You have faced the first trial, Oba. You have looked into the eyes of fear and refused to bow. But greater trials lie ahead. Be ready. The ground beneath Oba trembled, and the cavern dissolved into light. He felt himself being carried once more by the currents, deeper into the river's mysteries. The forbidden river had only just begun to test him. Oba drifted through the rushing current, his body light as a leaf carried by the wind. The river carried him deeper, where the light grew faint and shadows thickened into heavy silence. Yet, after what felt like hours, the current released him into a wide, glowing chamber beneath the waters. Here, the riverbed was covered in golden sand that glittered like stars. Strange coral-like structures rose high, glowing with soft light, and the air smelled sweet, almost like honey. The silence of the chamber felt different from the cavern of shadows. It was not filled with fear, it was warm, almost welcoming. Oba looked around, catching his breath. Where am I now? He whispered. A gentle laugh echoed around him, soft and melodic. From behind a tall coral structure, a woman appeared. She was not like the river spirit he had met before. This one looked human, with smooth brown skin, long braids cascading down her back, and eyes that sparkled with warmth. She wore a flowing cloth of red and gold, and when she smiled, Oba felt his heart skip a beat. Welcome, Oba, she said sweetly. You have walked far for someone so young. Come, sit. Rest. You must be tired. Oba hesitated, but there was something in her voice that made his legs weak. He sat on the golden sand, staring at her with wide eyes. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, more beautiful than any girl in the village. Who are you? He asked cautiously. The woman's smile deepened. I am whatever you desire me to be. I am comfortable. I am resting. I am the answer to your hunger and your thirst. As she spoke, bowls of food appeared before Oba: roasted yam dripping with palm oil, steaming bowls of pepper soup, sweet fruits piled high, and jugs of palm wine that glowed like amber. The smell made his stomach growl. He realized he had not eaten since the evening before he entered the river. His body cried out for food, and his throat longed for drink. The woman leaned closer, her voice gentle and tempting. Eat, Oba. Drink. Stay with me, and I will give you more than food. I will give you joy, riches, and a life without fear. You will never suffer again. You will never have to fight or struggle. Everything you desire will be yours. Oba stared at the food, his mouth watering. He could almost taste the yam, soft and sweet on his tongue. His body begged him to reach out, to eat, to forget the trials and surrender to the comfort before him. But then, deep inside him, a whisper stirred. His grandmother's voice. Do not play with things you do not understand, boy. Curiosity is what feeds the spirits. Oba froze, his hand hovering over the food. He looked at the woman, and suddenly, for a moment, her face flickered. Her beautiful features twisted into something darker: sharp teeth, hollow eyes, skin that shimmered like scales. But then it was gone, and she was beautiful again, smiling sweetly. Oba's heart pounded. He realized what this was. The second trial. The trial of temptation. He clenched his fist. No, he said firmly. This is not real. You are testing me. The woman's smile wavered. But why resist, Oba? What good is your courage if you starve? What good is your strength if you are weak? Take what I offer, and you will be free. Oba shook his head. Freedom does not come from giving in. Freedom comes from the truth. And I did not come here to feast. I came to heal the river. The woman's eyes narrowed, and her voice grew sharp. Foolish boy. Do you think you can resist forever? Hunger will eat you alive. Desire will break you. No one can deny what they truly want. Oba stood, his voice steady. I can. I am Oba, the son of my people, and I will not betray them for lies and comfort. In his words, the food vanished into dust, and the woman screamed. Her form twisted and melted, her beauty dissolving into black smoke that curled upward and vanished into the water. The chamber trembled, and the golden sand dissolved into the current. The sweet smell turned into the sharp scent of rushing water. Then the river spirit's voice returned, echoing softly around him. You have faced temptation, Oba, and you did not bow. Many are lost in that trial, chained by their own desires. But you stood firm. You grow stronger. Oba breathed heavily, relief washing over him. He felt both hungry and weary, but his heart swelled with pride. He had passed another test. What next? He asked the waters. The spirit's voice was calm but heavy. The greatest trial still awaits you. You have faced fear, and you have resisted temptation. But now, you must face the trial of sacrifice. Only then will the river's wound be healed. Oba swallowed hard. Sacrifice. The word weighed heavily in his chest. What would the river demand of him? His strength. His life. The current surged around him, pulling him once more into the depths. He closed his eyes as the water carried him forward, faster and faster, until the world became a blur of rushing currents and darkness. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself standing on the edge of a deep chasm in the riverbed. The waters here were dark and still, as if holding their breath. The ground shook beneath his feet, and a low growl rumbled from the depths. Oba's heart raced. He could feel it, something powerful, something ancient, waiting in the shadows below. The final trial was near. But what would the river ask of him? Oba stood trembling at the edge of the dark chasm. The water here was different, thick and heavy, almost like oil. It pressed against his chest, weighing him down, making it harder to breathe. The silence was so deep that even his heartbeat echoed like a drum inside his ears. He stared into the pit below. It seemed endless, a black hole in the heart of the river. From its depths came a low rumbling, like the growl of a great beast awakening. The water around the chasm shimmered faintly with red light, as if fire burned deep beneath the waves. Then the spirit's voice filled the silence. It was no longer soft or sweet, it was strong, commanding, heavy as thunder. Oba, this is your final trial. You have faced fear. You have resisted temptation. Now you must prove your heart. The river was wounded by greed and betrayal. Only sacrifice can heal what was broken. Oba's throat felt dry. Sacrifice. What do you mean? What must I give? The water trembled, and a figure rose from the chasm. Oba gasped. It was his younger sister, Adis. She looked just as she did at home, slender and bright-eyed, her smile soft and familiar. She reached out her hand toward him. Oba, she said, her voice trembling. Help me. The river has taken me. Please, save me. Oba's chest tightened. He stepped forward instinctively, reaching for her. But then, behind her, another figure appeared, his grandmother, Mama F. She stood tall, her wrinkled face solemn, her eyes full of love and sorrow. Oba, my son, she said softly. Do not be deceived. These are not truly us. The river is testing you. Oba froze, torn between the two figures. Adis looked so real, her eyes filled with tears. Brother, please. Don't listen. I am real. Save me before it is too late. But Mama F's voice was calm. Listen with your heart, child. The river shows you illusions. It will ask you to give up what you love most. That is the meaning of sacrifice. Oba's stomach twisted. He looked from one to the other, his mind spinning. The thought of losing Addis was unbearable. She was his only sister, the one he had sworn to protect since they were small. But what if Mama F was right? What if this was a trick? The river spirit's voice boomed again. Choose, Oba. To heal the river, you must give what you cannot bear to lose. Offer your sacrifice into the depths, and the wound will begin to close. Refuse, and you will remain here forever. Oba's heart pounded. Sweat beaded his forehead even though he was underwater. He felt trapped between love and duty, between fear and destiny. He looked at Addis again. She cried, reaching for him, her voice desperate. Oba, if you love me, save me. Don't let me drown. Then he looked at Mama F. Her gaze was steady, filled with the wisdom of many years. Do not let the river break you, child. True sacrifice is not about choosing who dies, it is about choosing what you will give of yourself. Oba's breath caught. Her words struck something deep inside him. He understood now. The river did not want his sister or his grandmother. It wanted him. His courage. His life. His willingness to give everything for the sake of his people. He swallowed hard, his body trembling. Then, slowly, he stepped toward the chasm. The figures of Addis and Mama F reached for him. One cried. One watched silently. But Oba no longer looked at them. His eyes were in the darkness below. He spread his arms wide and spoke with a steady voice. If the river demands sacrifice, then let it be me. I give myself. Take my life if that is what it takes to heal the wound and free my people from fear. I am Oba, the son of my people, and I offer my blood to the river. The moment he spoke, the water roared like thunder. The chasm glowed with blinding light, red turning to gold, and the illusions of Addis and Mama F vanished into mist. A great force pulled at Oba, dragging him downward into the depths. He did not fight. He let himself fall, his heart calm, his spirit unshaken. As he sank into the golden light, he felt the river's pain, the centuries of anger, the wound left by greed, the silence of generations who had feared without healing. He felt it all flow into him, heavy as stone. His body screamed with pain, but his heart grew stronger, larger, filled with something beyond himself. Then he heard the spirit's voice again, softer now, full of awe. You have done what no one before you have done, Oba. You have given yourself freely. Your sacrifice is true. The river accepts. Suddenly, the pain dissolved into warmth. The golden light wrapped around him like a mother's embrace. He felt his body lighten, his spirit expand. The wound of the river closed, and the waters around him shimmered bright and clear. Fish returned, darting joyfully. Plants bloomed, glowing with life. The darkness lifted, and the river was reborn. Oba gasped as he felt himself rising, carried upward by the currents. His body broke through the surface of the river, and he found himself once more at the riverbank under the bright morning sun. He lay on the sand, panting, the air fresh in his lungs. The river behind him shimmered with new life, no longer dark and heavy, but clear and bright, the water singing like music. Birds circled above, and the land seemed to breathe again. Oba touched his chest, expecting to find a wound. But instead, he felt only a warmth deep within, as if the river had left its spirit inside him. The forbidden river was no longer forbidden. But Oba knew his journey was not yet finished. He had returned, but now he would have to face his people and tell them what he had seen, what he had done. Would they believe him? Would they accept that the fear that had ruled them for generations was gone? The trials of the river were over. But the trial of truth had just begun. Oba lay on the sand for a long time, listening to the new song of the river. Its waters flowed bright and clear, sparkling like the morning sun. The heavy darkness that once clung to it was gone. Birds dipped their wings into the water, and small fish leapt joyfully near the surface. The forbidden river was no longer silent and frightening, it was alive again. Oba touched his chest and closed his eyes. He could still feel the warmth of the spirit inside him, a gentle fire that pulsed with life. He whispered softly, "Thank you for choosing me." But his joy was mixed with worry. What would happen when he returned to the village? The people had feared this river for generations. They believed it was cursed, a place of death. Would they believe that it was now healed? Would they even believe that he had gone into it and survived? He rose slowly to his feet, weak but determined. With steady steps, he began the long walk back through the grasslands, his wet clothes clinging to him, his body tired but his spirit alive. When he reached the edge of the village, the sun was high, and the air was filled with the sounds of children playing and women pounding yam. The moment they saw him, everything stopped. The villagers froze, staring at him in disbelief. "Oba!" someone shouted. "It is Oba!" Men and women rushed forward, their eyes wide. His mother pushed through the crowd, tears spilling down her face. "My son! My Oba!" She threw her arms around him, holding him tightly as if she would never let go. "Where have you been?" his father demanded, his voice trembling. "We searched the fields. We thought you were lost." Oba looked at them all, his chest heavy. Then he said the words that silenced the entire village. "I went into the forbidden river." Gasps rose from the crowd. Some covered their mouths in horror. Others stepped back in fear. His mother clutched him harder. His father's face turned pale. "Oba, do not speak such madness," an elder cried. "No one enters that river and lives. Do not curse us with your words." But Oba stood tall. "I entered the river, and I was chosen. I faced its trials. I gave myself a sacrifice. And the river has been healed." The villagers muttered nervously, shaking their heads. "Lies, foolishness," some whispered. Others stared at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Then Mama F stepped forward, her walking stick tapping the ground. Her old eyes looked at Oba deeply, as though she could see the truth written on his soul. "Tell us what you saw, child," she said softly. So Oba told them everything. He spoke of the shadows of fear, the illusions of temptation, and the final trial of sacrifice. He told them about the spirit of the river, about the wound left by strangers long ago, and about how his offering had brought healing. He described the waters now, clear and full of life. When he finished, silence hung over the crowd like a heavy cloth. No one spoke. No one moved. Then Mama F lifted her face to the sky and said, "I believe him." The people gasped. "He carries the river inside him," she continued. "Can you not see it? His eyes shine with its light. His voice carries its strength. He is no liar. The boy has walked where none have walked and returned. He has given himself to us all." Slowly, others began to look at Oba differently. The fear in their eyes softened into wonder. A brave man stepped forward and asked, "If the river is healed, can we drink from it now?" Oba turned and pointed toward the horizon where the water gleamed in the sun. "Come and see for yourselves." The villagers followed him, cautious and trembling, until they reached the riverbank. They stopped in shock. Where once the water had been dark and silent, now it danced with light. Birds sang in the trees, and fish darted happily in the shallows. The air was fresh, not as heavy as before. A woman bent down, scooped water in her hands, and tasted it. Her eyes widened. "It is sweet. It is pure." Others rushed forward, touching the water, laughing, crying, some kneeling in prayer. The fear that had ruled their hearts for generations melted away, replaced by joy and relief. The elders bowed their heads before Oba. "You have done what none of us could do. You have freed us from fear. From this day, the river will no longer be forbidden. It will be our life once more." The people cheered, lifting their voices to the sky. Children splashed in the shallows, their laughter ringing through the air. Women filled their calabashes with fresh water. Men cast nets and pulled out fish, their baskets heavy with blessings. The village, once chained by fear, was alive again. But Oba stood quietly, his heart full. He felt joy for his people, yet he also felt the weight of what he had seen. The river had given him a gift, but also a burden. He carried its spirit now, and he knew his life would never be the same. That evening, as the sun set in flames of red and gold, the villagers gathered around a great fire to celebrate. Drums beat, voices sang, and dancers stamped their feet into the earth. Oba sat beside Mama F, who watched him with proud, shining eyes. "You are no longer just Oba," she said. "You are Oba, keeper of the river. The spirit has marked you. You will guide us now, and you will remind us of what was healed, so we do not wound it again." Oba nodded, though his chest was heavy with the responsibility. He knew she was right. The river had chosen him, and he would carry its memory forever. As the night grew deeper, he looked toward the river, its surface shimmering beneath the moon. He thought he heard the spirit's voice again, soft and gentle, like a lullaby. "You have done well, Oba. The river lives because of you. Guard it well, for it will always be part of you." A smile touched his lips. He whispered back, "I will." And so, the forbidden river was no longer forbidden. It became the heart of the village once again, a place of life, joy, and hope. And Oba, the boy who had once been restless and curious, became the keeper of its truth, a living bridge between his people and the spirit of the waters. The river flowed, free and bright, carrying with it the story of courage, sacrifice, and healing. And its song would never be forgotten. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.